Okay, so before we start, I already know that I shouldn't be recording this video. I should be packing for Furry Week in Atlanta. As of right now, it's 6 p.m. on the Tuesday before. My flight leaves 18 hours from now. I haven't even started packing. My room is an absolute mess. I have dishes downstairs I gotta take care of. Haven't even gotten him in the fursuit bag yet. But instead of being a responsible adult, a good puppy, as it were, I'm recording this video talking about the most god-awful furry meme infographic thing that just dropped on furry Twitter. Everyone's dunking on it because it's so objectively bad, it's so funny because of how bad it is, and I want to talk about it today. Welcome to adulthood, my friends. We put everything off till last second. Granted, that doesn't even matter. You're watching this video probably a month from now after FWA, knowing my track record. I can't get videos done on time. Are you kidding me? This is a lot of work to do. But hey, if you do want to see these videos early, feel free to check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. But regardless, I want to talk about this furry meme infographic art piece. I don't really know what the proper term for it is in the first place. I see them happening a lot where you have like comparisons between different stereotypes or groups of people within a community, specifically in this case the furry community. Remember the one we went over a bit ago where it kind of stereotyped the ooh no negativity, positivity only, no drama furry versus the one that hates the community but people say is the most chill person to be around? Yeah, that one. I don't know what to call this subgenre of furry meme or furry stereotyping or infographic. The best way to call it is an infographic because I feel like it's projecting this idea of a stereotype of individuals within a community onto this one arbitrary example of a furry and saying, oh, this is either a good or bad thing, it's a problem in the community. But from how I feel about it, it doesn't really do anything to solve the problems that are apparently there to begin with. It just projects them and doesn't add anything to conflict management. It doesn't make it better, which granted, that's social media at the end of the day. You're not really gonna get conflict management on social media, especially Twitter, no. But either way, what's the tea today? Well, our story starts with a Twitter post that was made a few days ago and only got some attention recently by a user who we're not going to give any attention to because one, the post could very well be rage bait, and two, based on the very brief research that I did on this character or individual, give or take 5 minutes or so, the user has allegedly said some very racist, homophobic, transphobic, anti-Semitic, philia stuff that you just don't want to say or be a part of. Look, they're just filling out the bingo card of ick at this point. So yeah, I don't want to give that attention, and quite frankly, the focus of this video isn't supposed to be the user, but more of the context of the post itself, because very well, the best thing that you can do is not give this person attention, because that could very well be what they're looking for, because negative attention is still attention at the end of the day. Point being, they made a post a few days ago featuring a little furry meme art infographic thing that compares 2019 furries to furries stuck in the early 2000s, with the caption reading, "Bring the old furry community back right now." Okay, so already this sounds like a temper tantrum in the form of a tweet. Give me the furry fandom back then, I want it now! Oh sweetie, this is real life. Very rarely do you get your way. But either way, let's break this down, starting with the 2019 furries. Also, like, why 2019 furries specifically? I would have maybe understood a little bit, like a tiny bit, if they had used the example of like COVID lockdown furries or furries who joined through 2020 COVID. Because truthfully, there has been like a social media shift to some extent in how, because everyone was terminally online through COVID lockdown and everything, how things have kind of changed with social media and how someone's viewpoint of the furry fandom could be based off of social media in general. So maybe then, why 2019 furries? Like 2019, in my opinion, was like the best time to be a furry. Not to say now isn't. I mean, any time is a good time to join and be a part of the furry fandom if you enjoy it to the extent that you do, or make your own experiences with it. Where have I heard this before? 2019, I look back on that so fondly. It was such a good time. I will even say to some extent, I'm a little bit out of touch with the day and age that we're in with like social media and trends and whatnot. But like even looking at the 2019 furries, they look like they're having a great time. This person there looks like they're having the time of their life. Who am I to say that, oh, you're doing it wrong, or this is not how the furry fandom is supposed to be? That's so weird. That's so weird. So even outside of the traits or descriptions here, this already does not have a good basis. Like where is this coming from? What are you talking about? Who is this for? More and more special snowflakes, lives in filter bubbles. Okay, so using the word snowflakes is already setting a very projective precedent here. Okay. Isn't interested in the fandom at all, just here because it's cool. Fursuit parts are only fashion statements, doesn't see fursuiting as an art anymore. Calling everyone who doesn't share their opinions Nazi, seeing drama where no drama is. Buys prefab suits or suit parts instead of learning how to do it. Wants everything for free or very cheap. Always complaining art being too expensive. So right off the bat, you've lost me by using the word snowflake here. This, to me, already has projections of conservatism. Just downright. Oh, special snowflakes. I've only ever heard that word used by, like, Uncle Randy, who is a very openly racist who voted for Trump, okay? That's the only time that I have heard snowflakes used. Lives in filter bubbles? What does that mean? Yeah, I would like to also filter out people in my life who I don't want to associate with or interact with who are bad for me. I can't be friends with everyone and be around everyone. So yeah, I filter out some people in my life. That's what you naturally should do. What do you mean by filter bubble? The only other idea that I can think of is like clicks. Like clicks aren't bad. If you say something is clicky, and then yeah, maybe that part of that community isn't for you and you got to find your own, which I've talked about this multiple times before in several different videos, and we'll go over those later. But yeah, don't really know what the first one is about. Even moving on. Isn't interested in the fandom at all, just here because it's cool. Wait, hold on. How does that make sense at all? I don't think the furry fandom is a trendy, hip with the thing kids. You really have to invest a lot into it. Like, they have a fursuit too. What do you mean they don't care about the fandom? The example you used is someone who has and is wearing a fursuit. Guys, this is why I hate these in the first place. They make no goddamn sense at all. Yeah, the 5K at least investment on a furry animal costume, they just did it because it's a cool hip thing to do. I just want to be relatable like everyone else. That's why I dropped 6.9K on that fucker back there. Yeah, I just did it because I don't care about this community. I just joined because it's cool. It's the cool thing to do. Which maybe they're arguing that they're using fursuits as more of like a hip cool thing and not really enjoying the community. They're trying to use it as like a fashion sense, which is more of the third part here that they're saying. Fursuit parts are only fashion statements. Doesn't see fursuiting as an art anymore. Bringing your character to life through a fursuit is an art, even if you're not making your fursuit. Again, it just makes no sense. So for the next one, calling everyone who doesn't share their opinions Nazi, seeing drama where no drama is. I do get to some extent the idea that, at least on social media, folks are a lot more prone to throwing around these buzzwords or labels towards people, very life-ruining labels towards people that they just don't like, or are looking for a reason to not like them along with just not liking them, like pedophile, groomer, Nazi, and so on, just to kind of fit this narrative of trying to make them seem like a bad person and them seem like a better person. But that's, again, more of just how social media has kind of become. It's not just a furry thing to some extent. I feel like social media has a tendency to do this in general. Everyone's just throwing around these labels now. It's really not great, and that's a whole argument entirely. But next one being, buys prefab suits or suit parts instead of learning how to do it. What? What? Okay, sure. I guess it's no good if you buy a prefab suit or buy suit parts instead of make your... What? I don't know what that point is about. Again, feels like a projection of like, I made my fursuit so everyone else should. Or like, oh, no one makes their fursuits anymore. What are you talking about? People are making their fursuits. There are plenty of people who make their fursuits from the ground up. Plenty of fursuit makers too. So like, I don't know what the problem is here. And then the last part, wants everything for free or very cheap. Always complaining art being too expensive. Okay, the first part, yeah, I would like things to be cheaper and I would like to get things for free. Who wouldn't? If you were offered anything for free or for cheaper, yeah, I'd like that. And the whole thing of art being too expensive, that's more of a feeling that some folks might have. Oh, it's out of my budget. There might be a different way of expressing it other than saying, oh, this art is too expensive. It's market, it's commission economy, it's furries commissioning artists. We haven't even gone over the comparison here, the second part. This just feels like projection. devotion. Like just saying these furries in this age group, in this demographic, 2019 furries, are bad or problematic, or I don't like them for these reasons, or they're not doing what I deem to be the definition of the furry community that I have fallen in love with. That's what this feels like. If you don't look at it with rose-tinted glasses, then yeah, most of this, if not all of it, is fine. You can buy prefab fursuits, you can get fashionable with a fursuit partial. And making these generalizations that 2019 furries don't care about the community, are only here because it's cool, and don't see fursuiting as art, or don't have an appreciation for art, is a generalization that is, one, not true, and you just can't apply to everyone because you don't know that. But regardless, that's only the first half of it. We still haven't even gone over furries stuck in the early 2000s, which, if it's anything like the first part, I'm scared to read the rest of this. Has made his or her fursuit completely himself, with lots of love and devotion. Loves art and knows how much effort it takes. Knows many artists from the beginning of the fandom. Comes from a time where being openly gay was difficult. Joined the fandom to escape harassment, not to spread it. Isn't interested in politics at all, because the fandom was a big, loving family without extremists then? Okay, so before I lose my mind with that last one, let's start from the top. The furry stuck in the early 2000s has made his or her fursuit completely himself with lots of love and devotion. So that's saying anyone in the 2019 furries demographic hasn't done that. Again, a generalization, and a bad one at that. Nothing more really needs to be said that hasn't already been said there, so moving on. Loves art and knows how much effort it takes. Knows many artists from the beginning of the fandom. Same thing applies to the 2019 furries too. I'd argue that furries today, or 2019 furries, know a lot more about how much effort goes into art or fursuit making, or they're commissioning their Fursona getting jacked off by Wendell in Fortnite. Like, it takes time and effort that goes into it. I feel like most people know that more nowadays than before. Also, that badge says YERF. What does YERF mean? But next part. Comes from a time where being openly gay was difficult. Joined the fandom to escape harassment, not spread it. This has a lot to unpack with it, with being openly gay being difficult then versus now. It was very well more difficult to be openly gay, and using the furry fandom as an escape from the harassment I think is good, but that's still the case today, I'd like to think. Nothing has changed about the furry fandom being a safe space for the LGBT community. And the whole bit about not spreading harassment, again, if you look at it through the lens of social media and only social media, you're gonna have a different experience. This is why, again, you gotta look at the furry fandom social media versus the furry fandom IRL. They're two different things. They're going further and further apart, but they still have like overlap, okay? That also can lead to the insinuation with that point that 2019 furries, or those not stuck in the early 2000s, are joining the furry fandom to spread harassment, which no. But again, a whole discussion about social media might be in and of itself there, but yeah, just and then that's not even mentioning the last one, which that rubs me the wrong way. Isn't interested in politics at all, because the fandom was a big, loving family without extremists then. Anyone who has said, oh, we need to be a big, loving, happy family, and then the points that they literally said before, oh yeah, it's the 2019 furries who are the problem. Like, what, huh? What part of what you said about wanting the furry fandom to be a big, loving, happy family is dictated by what you just generalized about an entire generation of furries? And again, you can think what you want about politics at the end of the day, okay? You can use the furry fandom as an escape, but I will say this right now too. You don't have to pay attention to politics. No one's forcing you to, but understand that politics do affect the furry fandom too, because the furry fandom is a people's hobby. It's a people's community. And so anything that affects people, aka politics, the way of life for some people, will affect the community as well. It's not to say, again, that you need it shoved down your throat and you can't have an escape from it. Quite frankly, with all the bad news that I have seen about the president doing X, Y, or Z thing, I'm just like, I don't want to see it. I don't care. I just want to enjoy my hobby and community, and that's it for a little bit. Having an escape from it is fine. And that's what I just don't get by posts like this, or even like images, infographics, memes like this. What is the point of it, besides to either demonize or draw lines between either different demographics of folks, different generations, different furries that you might not really understand or might not like, and just kind of throwing them all into a group? Never has any of these kinds of memes or posts ever served as a conflict resolution to whatever the problem is in the first place, which I guess the problem from this point is the furry fandom used to be this place, and now it's not this anymore. And it's because of X. It's because of this group that I don't like or I don't deem to be what it used to be, what my definition of the furry fandom is. You can have feelings about it. You know, I might even have myself feelings about like lockdown and COVID and how that has affected a lot of social media and by proxy furry social media. How some people are very gung-ho about wanting to villainize people that they just don't like or trying to find a reason to not like them and completely miss steps in between and apply labels that are very life-ruining to things that they just don't like. But I haven't even gotten to the kicker about this. You want to know the best part about this infographic thing? It's an edit from the original. Wearing furry design t-shirt, poodles with friends in public, gender ambiguous and is hot, has a successful business selling scented fursuit sprays at 19, tips on commissions. So this is seen as like the good, the opposite being seen as furries stuck in the early 2000s. Also, this one says yif instead of yerf. I don't know why that was changed. Never takes off suit or washes it to stay in character. Hits on artists at cons while they are trying to work. Only knows how to be awkward or sexual. Wants furries to stop being political so they can be a racist puppy in peace. Okay, that last one was kind of funny. But point being, both of these suck because these do nothing to actually solve the problem of what might be the problem in the furry community, or what they deem to be. If it is awkwardly, overly sexual fursuiters, or those that don't wash their fursuit, or those who are hitting on artists, or those who don't want to be political so they can be racist, that doesn't solve the problem. All it really does is just make people angrier and make social media more insufferable. If your problem is that people shut themselves out and filter out into bubbles, people are going to do that more and more when you make shit like this. I think with regards to the discussion of change in the furry community, this kind of brings to mind how some folks see the older times, how things were in the early 2000s, as better than how the furry fandom is now. And again, that is all subjective and dependent on who thinks what of it. I would like to argue the opposite, that the furry community is a lot better than it was before. Nowadays, even in 2019, I'd argue that it was better in 2019 than it was in the early 2000s. There might have been some things that were better in the viewpoint of others that were better then versus now. And that brings to mind the video that I did on change in the furry fandom. Granted, I used the discussion of fursuit poodling as the example and used a couple of others, and that was kind of the thing that people hyper-focused on. But more the point was to use it as an arbitrary example and apply it to different subcultures and topics within the furry community to understand how things have changed. And change is natural. Change is going to happen. There are going to be more people that want to be furries, want to join the community, want to partake in the culture, the conventions, get fursuits, make art, whatever you may have it. It's always going to grow. If you look at it through the lens of just the negative Nancy shit you see on Twitter, then yeah, you might not have the best viewpoint of how the furry community is, how hostile it might be, because Twitter is just hostile in general. There probably are furries out there who are, I guess, stuck in the early 2000s, not stuck in the way of looking down upon it, but in the way of they like the traditional way of fursuiting. They fursuit the way they do, they make their own fursuits, they partake in the traditions that once were. There is probably a community out there for it, knowing how big the furry fandom is now. So why focus on why everyone else is not conforming or doing what you deem to be what the fandom is about? But again, that just kind of goes to how some folks have this idea that the furry fandom should be how I view it, my definition of it, because it's my community and my escape, which is something that I want to talk about in a future video as well. You make your own experiences, you make your own communities. That's why, you know, people filter bubbles to some extent, or at least have their own little bubbles of who they enjoy being around, because that's what you make your experience to be. You can curate your own experiences in the community, whether it's on social media or IRL. That's just do that. I know it's the harsh truth with it, and it's easier said than done, because it's so much easier to dunk on people that you don't like or think are doing it wrong, but it's not making your own experience better. But either way, that's what I wanted to cover today. So on that note, Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this or have any thoughts or feelings about what we talked about today, be sure to leave them in the comments. I greatly appreciate all the feedback and support. You guys have been very nice and kind and respectful, and it means the world, especially in this day and age. I don't know how much more I'm going to talk about these in the future. Maybe I might kind of do a retrospective on some of these like infographic things that come up. If you know exactly the term for these, I don't know if it's a furry meme or furry art or virtue signaling in the furry community. I don't really know what to call this, but it popped up on Twitter and everyone was talking about it. People were like quote retweeting it and dunking on it and just kind of understood that it was objectively bad, which is kind of a nice consensus to come to some extent. Either way, it was something I wanted to talk about today. Don't know how much of this I'm going to do in the future because that was draining and I want to go and have a good time at FWA, so I should probably start packing for that. So I'm going to get going. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you all for watching. Stay life jacket, treat people like people, and that's about it for me. See you later, guys.